What is the purpose of this chapter? It's a straightforward purpose. We are trying to determine the rate of return. Based on what? We're going to use the same analysis of a break-even analysis. That means either using a present worth or an annual worth equation. And if you equate to 0, you can find an unknown. I would rather use present worth. Why? Because we're using a cash button. It's easier to have cash button. The cash button will help me a lot. We have a function there, and it's always all the data there is including the present worth. At the end of the day, it depends on the discretion of the student himself. So what is the rate of return? Why is it a measure? Looking at the perspective of a rate of return analysis, and sometimes referred to as an IRR, internal rate of return. That means inside the company. Okay. Now, as you can see, we know MAR, rate of return, IRR. All of them mean that we are dealing with an interest, and therefore now we are requesting to know what is the viability of this project. So in fact, we could find out that the interest rate could be positive. It could be exactly 0. Okay. It could be minus 5%. As we know, minus 5%, it means it didn't cover the prospective project. The same thing, if you remember, we have dollars. It was, for example, 1,000 positive. Means this is viable based on monetary. It gives me my MAR. And we had 0 and we had minus 500. So now you're saying to him, if he gives me all the information regarding monetary and he wants to find out the percentage, I can do that. At the same time, I can do my analysis and compare it to the MAR. So if somebody says my MAR is 10%, you do your own calculation, definitely here, and you identify. So you're not going to use the MAR, you're going to use the data given, and you're going to, and then you're going to say, okay, compared to the minimum attractive rate of return. And you're going to see today how it works. At the end of the day, it's important to understand that it's a range. Based on this range, we can determine the feasibility of this project. Now, here is saying that to understand an unknown, all of these can be used as analysis because I'm trying to determine a rate of return, equating it to 0. Here we can see that we can use a cash button or trial and error. Here we have an Excel sheet. Now, very important to me is this one. If you're going to determine the rate of return and you want to know whether it's viable, it says if I is equal or greater than the MAR, you accept. If the interest rate you discover is lower than the MAR, then it's not viable. Then at a minimum attractive rate of return. So either you're getting it exactly or you're getting greater. Let's start to look at this. We only have 3 examples, and therefore participation will be part of this session. Here it says, assume you invest 1,000 at year 0. This is 1,000. And you receive 500 at year 3, TS3, 1,500 at year 5. Now, what is the rate of return? Now, if you think about it, this is we are accustomed to it. We will equate it to the present world. So all of the data there should be in present format. As you can see, 0 equals 1,505 p given f. This is what we have to learn, that putting I with an asterisk. You remember we used to that one NP. Anybody who would look at it understands I'm trying to find out the payback period. Here I'm putting I asterisk. It means I didn't forget it. It means I'm trying to find it. So therefore, the common factor is I'm trying to find the rate of return. Now, if I'm going to use the calculator, okay, as you know, the calculator using the compound, okay, I'm going to put everything 0 because I had some information left over. So I'm going to come to the n, and I'm going to realize that I cannot do it with a compound button because my data is different. لاحظ 3, 5. So the only way I can do it, if it is distributed different single amounts, is using a cache button. Okay, now this is very important, guys, so that you don't waste your time opening it. So therefore, I'm going to keep I as 0. I open the cache button. I'm going to go to the cache editor. I'm going to start to put my information. So I'm going to go minus 1000, and then I'm going to put 0. Row number 4, I'm going to put 500. It's positive. Okay. And then I'm going to have row number 6, I'm going to have 1500. Now all of you will go to escape. Now if you remember, we had NPV, and thus we have IRR, internal rate of return. Okay. And if you go and press solve, now guys, don't forget the I should equal 0 when you put the information. Okay, it takes time, guys, because it does an interpolation. As you can see how time consuming it is. Now, I believe the same as Hassan, I got the same answer. Now, it means, first of all, that this project is viable. It is in fact covering my principal. In addition to that, it's making a rate of return of 16.9%. So this is actually what is chapter 7 is all about. Let's do this one, guys. I know that some of you are accustomed, but we try to make sure that everybody is aware. It says an investment of 20,000 in a new equipment will generate income of 7,000 per year for 3 years, at which the machine can be sold for estimated 8,000. As you know, so basically I have income, future, present. Now, if the company MAR is 15, should the company buy it? So basically what is required, as you can see, identifying a rate of return, IRR, and they're comparing it with the 15%. Now, let's go on. Again, guys, now don't forget the cache button is interest. Guys, if we're going to write it, it should be 0 equals minus 2,000, 20,000, and then I'm going to have positive 7,000. Find P given A. Today what I'm learning, and I'm putting 3. Hi guys, we're able to create it. Don't forget guys, later on we're gonna have different questions as well. Okay, now Hassan, it seems that you're the only one attending. Saeed, thank you very much. Now, yes, by all means, as you can see, the I is 18.24%. And when we compare to the MAR, it's exceeding. So your recommendation, we should buy it. Now guys, don't forget, I can use the compound. ليش؟ لأن I have the A, I have the F and the P. So you put them as they are for compound. When you go to the PV, you put minus 20,000, and the PMT, you're gonna put 7,000 as it is. The future value is 8,000. Why? Because the N is 3. You're gonna have a problem. So when you go to the I, you're gonna put solve. It depends on the problem. How do you want to see it? If you're happy with doing cash button, so be it. If you are looking at compound, make sure that the N is the same. Now in this case, you can enable it. At the end of the day, it's important to understand what's the purpose, is to compare it to the MAR. As you can see here, we all achieved the outcome, and comparing it to the MAR, the company should buy the machine. What about here? Is an investment of 10,000 in a new equipment will generate income of 1,200 per year for 10 years. Okay, starting year 4. Now guys, don't forget, and we have it for 10 years. So this is an annuity, and then the machine can be sold for 200. If the company MAR is 10%, should we buy it? I would like to know. So if I'm going to look at the we just completed earlier this part. It is for guys. We deal with chapter 3. I bring it here, and as you can see, 3 plus 10 is 13. So I'm gonna be, and this is 3. So I'm dealing here with making sure I don't need to add salvage, and as you know, no, in this case, yes, because we're not dealing with payback, we are dealing with the full amount. So I need to add 200, 1P with an F, again asterisk, and I need to put 13 years. Okay, guys. So if we're going to use the compound button, so the cash button, I'm going to go with the cash button because there is a shift. Gonna go to the cash editor, constructor, put minus 10,000. I'm gonna keep a gap. So here it says starting year 4. I'm gonna start with year 5 here, a row 5, I mean, and it's gonna be 1,200, 1,200, 1,200. When I reach to row 14, I'm going to add 200, so 1,400. I'm going to go escape. Don't forget, guys, the I should be 0 because the machine is always going to be putting the previously answer or previous answer. I'm going to go solve. Now, taking time for interpolation. I had 2.37. Let me check my data. Might have. Guys, did you get the same answer? Yes, I got the same answer as yours. So as you can see, this is wrong. Okay, guys. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes the book answers are not correct. I got the same answer as you, 2.37. Now, we shouldn't buy the machine. Let me go with an update the slides, guys, because as you can see, sometimes we get wrong answers even in the book. So now, overall, we indicated that we're trying to seek a rate of return and we compare it to the MAR. Now, say somebody, why is this important to us? Normally, whenever we have projects and you're in charge, so you're not the guy who's going to do the clerk work, and to shakhsally, you're going to listen to it. Normally, a good project would give you a rate of return from 8 to 10%. هيسمونه rule of thumbs. At time, if you're going to look at time basis, يعني payback period, normally it's a good project if it's between يعني 6 is very good يعني and up to 8 years. فأنا ساعات when we sit down and they say okay we have a project, I'm going to say very quickly يعني before we start to investigate شنو rate of return 7%. Okay, it's good. What about the payback? ممكن تقول لي about 3 years. So, okay, when he says this, okay, I said, okay, let's now start to look in the details. Let's look at the present work. Let's look at all of the cash flow, how it looks like. القصد, these are good indicators. So therefore, I know we have techniques and we have different measures, but it depends on where you are. If you are looking at any project, this is a good outcome. If you're looking at period-wise, again, there's a good outcome. And نحط بيزاتي في 6 سنوات I'm gonna get it, it's good. Okay, this is normal and under the nothing abnormal happened. Everything I projected, income, expenses, all happened as it is. So overall, if you think about it, this is a measure that we use it just to find out. يعني كنا واحد يقول هاي طالب مجتهد. Well, okay, what's the GPA? Okay. What reason? So that you can understand reflecting GPA مع year. Okay, so then I say, okay, he's very good, seems good. Let's look at his transcript. And this is normally how you evaluate the project if you're just sitting far away. And that's why I'm saying to you, if you're in a management post, These are the languages you discuss. ما تقول له والله it's gonna make 500,000, because the guy who's sitting in front of you looking at the, just thinking about it, he's not looking into a lot about the money wise. He's looking at about a return. Okay? Then he's going to say, okay, what's the initial investment? عشان يعرف. When you say 8%, based on what? 500,000, 200,000, 20,000. So these are good indicators. Okay. As I mentioned, having all of this understood is going to help you out if you're going to be assessing any project in the future. Now, as you can see, the following welding machine is under consideration for a robotized welding process using a MAR of 13%. Determine should the welding machine be bought on the basis of a rate of return analysis. We have a fixed cost, 200,000, annual income, starting year 2, 60,000. So if you think about it, the income, so this is year 2, this is year 0, starting year 2 and decreasing by 10,000. As you can see, it is dollars. معناته I would go with, what's the life is 6. I'm going to close it. It says salvage value 10%. That means I'm going to have the future is going to be 20,000. Now all parameters are available. I have my N and I have my inputs, cash flow. So what is required, I, so that I can compare it with the 13%. Now, as I mentioned, guys, earlier, our part is to write the standard notation. Now, can you write the standard notation for me? I know that we are perfect now with using the cash button. It's a simple entry and finding out. Can you write for me the standard notation, guys? Don't forget, the more we write, the more we solve, it's going to be giving us. When I put 0 equals minus 200,000, and then you're going to put, most importantly, okay, and don't forget we have a shift. So all of these should be considered using the fact that I would like to indicate with I asterisk. I believe we only have one question left. Okay, say here 200,000, 60,000, find P given A, you put brackets. That means you want to contain the relationship between the A and the G. 5, and then you say find P given F1, so 1 plus 5 is 6. And finally you have 10%, find P given F, I percentage and 6. So as you can see, It's very straightforward. Thank you, Saeed, for answering, giving the student the opportunity to look at the answer. Overall, we understand the concept, what we are trying to do. Using the cash button, I left these empty gaps. Why? Because I want the students to fill them in. Here, if you realize, we'll have the 60,000. And don't forget, this is a mistake. This should be minus. Here we will have 10,000. This is find P given G. And this is find P given F. And finally, we have the 20,000. Find P given F. What's important? Okay. Now, using a calculator, cash button. So I'm going to eliminate everything in. I'm going to go to the entry. I'm going to say minus 200,000. And then I'm going to look at the entry. So I'm going to start at row number 3. So I'm going to put 60,000. I'm going to go backward, 50,000, 40,000. I reach to row 7. I'm going to put 30, 60, 50, 40. And I'm going to have I'm going to take the earlier information, need to clear it all out. 30. Okay. When I come to row 7, it's going to be 20,000 plus 20, so that is 40,000. And in row 7, I'm going to escape and put the IRR solved. Now Hassan, as well, find P given G, find P given F. Most important, guys, now you didn't use the brackets, which is well, it means you are using a different analysis. At the end of the day, it meets the same requirement. I have it calculating the rate of return or internal rate of return, so that they can compare it with the 15%. This is my expected MAR. And I think what I got is 2.60, 2.61. Now, as you can see, it is very low. Why? The income compared to the original, it barely covered it. صح? And the remaining is what you are gaining, which is percentage. So it makes a profit. This is certainly not making a profit. It's making a profit. As you know, the range is going to be from minus to positive. However, comparing to the organization's MAR, minimum attractive rate of return, for what? For their agreement or approval it's far away. So as you can see, we are now determining the feasibility, and overall we shouldn't buy the machine. This is the final question, and we can complete this chapter. It says a manufacturer is considered producing a modified 8-cylinder engines, which will require investing 900,000 to purchase 6 new machines. So this is 900,000 to purchase machines. In order to recover the investment, the manufacturer will sell each machine for 800. The expected yearly production will be 1,000 engines per year. The annual operating cost expected to be 600,000 per year. So he's giving me the income and he's giving me the outcome or output. Each machine can be sold for 5,000 after 6 years. Determine the rate of return. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to put the data in. If I'm going to draw it, guys, it's going to be this is the expected. So I'm going to have here A equals 800 multiplied by 1000. ليش؟ لأن يقول لي أنا عندي 800 and 1000 engines. What about the expenses? The expenses A is 600,000. Now don't forget, guys, the net between them is basically in a positive. And finally, I have the engines sold. I have 6 engines multiplied by 5,000. Why 6? لأن قال لي أنا عندي 6. So coming back to the fact, let me put it in perspective. Here, as you can see, I'm trying to put the information, which is 800 multiplied by 1000 minus, this is positive, minus my 600,000. Common factor, find P given A, asterisk, what's the number of years? It's 6. Finally, I have 5,000 multiplied by 6, asterisk 6. I can use a, 5,000 multiplied by 6. Guys, don't forget, I can use the compound button here. It's going to be a bit of easy, quick. Find P given F, interest I, 6. So I can use the compound button, and if I'm going to do so, I'm going to go to the compound button. Might as well you can follow through. N is 6 because it's common for all of them. I is unknown, so I'm going to start to put minus 900,000. Annuity is 200,000 positive, then I'm taking a net cash flow. The future is going to be 5 multiplied by 6, so it's going to be 30,000. And I'm going to go out this 200,000. I'm going to say solve. Now, all of you will get the following answer. So this is the rate of return of this project. Overall, it's quite a good rate of return considering a normal consideration or normal outcome. Moving onward. Okay, guys, I'm gonna remove this one. I removed it because it is a bit complicated. I don't want you to go through it. Yes, Ammar, thank you very much. Hassan, again, 9.3 should be 9.55. Try to be more accurate, guys, because at least put 2 decimal written زين لأن high percentage. So it says here, if the manufacturer want to make 15% rate of return. So now he's saying the manufacturer would like to make 15%. You got 9.55%. This is the rate of return. Now the manufacturer, he wants to make 15. What should be the extra income required? I will be very simple. This is important, guys, because as I mentioned, these type of questions, you should be ready for them. أنا عندي 0, 900. If you remember, this was my salvage. Find P given F, asterisk, you know. Now, here I'm going to find P given A. Now, guys, can we identify X? The only way to identify X is that you're going to be replacing the one you tried to find with the requested data. Okay. So now when you go to the compound, what you're going to look at? You're going to look at PMT. What did you get, guys? لأن if you put it I and kept it, you cannot solve two things. أنت قاعد تقول الحين أنا حصلت 9.55, and if you're going to write it the same way as earlier, I asterisk حطيت لي هني بعد X, what you're going to be seeking. So you have to say that you are requesting this rate of return. What is the X? Can you answer, guys? Can you give me the number here? لحظة ليش أقول لكم أعطوني؟ لأن I'm going to tell you later on what is the outcome. So if I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to just change a variable, I'm going to put I as 15 and I'm going to remove 200,000 and I'm going to put solve. Okay, now Ammar, why did I ask for this? لأن I want you to be clear, guys. If you're going to have a multiple choice or you're going to be solving it, listed here, what is the extra income? If you think about it, this is my answer. Okay. Now what Ammar got is totally right, representing the X. However, as a final answer, this is the extra income. يعني أنت over the 200,000, this 200,000 gives you 9.5%. You would like to have 15%, and basically you have to add the income, additional income should be this. فلاحظوا guys, it's very important ان في ناس تحل في الاخير تكتب لي الاكسترا income. They don't look at this and they say يعني 234,000. Now you gave me the entire income, net cash flow, which I didn't request. So by reaching this, guys, I think we were capable of completing this chapter. As you can see, it's quite of interest. Nothing is of new to us, except that the fact that we were able to derive the rate of return and consider it as a comparison to the MAR, or to identify what is the rate of return for this project. Now guys, if we go back to the beginning of this chapter, as you can see here, we completed everything related to engineering economy. So now each student is capable of analyzing using any tool And by reaching this point, we have completed the whole course. If you have any question, guys, I'm always available. Now I'm going to do a tutorial, guys, because we remember we have chapter 13. We have around 4 questions left, I believe 4. So I'm going to do a tutorial. I'm going to indicate to you the time. Most probably it will be next Wednesday. I'm going to put it in the activity hour so that all the sections can join, and whoever would like to join as well. Now, remember, you guys, we have 2 assessments left. We have a test, and as well as we have 1 quiz. Most probably the quiz will be on chapter 7, and the final will be